Welcome to the Breathwork Summit, a free online event where you'll learn from top experts about integrating the power of your breath to transform your health and well-being. Share this powerful program with your friends and family, and come join us on Facebook at The Shift Network. And now your host, Jessica Dibb.
Welcome to the Breathwork Summit. Well, this really is a global summit, and today our faculty members are from Germany and Austria, long-time teachers in the breathwork field for over 4 decades. Our session is called Breathwork and Psychotherapy as Healing Companions, and I'm so happy to welcome Tilke Platteel Deur and Wilfried Ehrmann. Now, Tilke is an international breathwork trainer and the founder of the Institute for Integrative Breathwork. For more than 40 years, she's been practicing and teaching breathwork, voice dialogue, neuro-linguistic programming, and the dynamics of relationships, primarily in Holland and Germany. She's also on the board of the Global Professional Breathwork Alliance. Wilfried is a psychotherapist and a breathwork trainer who has studied philosophy, psychology, history. He trained in various therapeutic methods, including person-centered counseling, body therapy, breathwork therapy, systemic therapy, trauma healing, and peak states therapy. He is the author of many books, including Coherent Breathing, and in an English edition, he has written more than 100 articles about breathwork and related topics, some of which have been translated into English and Spanish, and I love reading his articles. So, Wilfried and Tilke, thank you for being with us here today. I totally love both of you. I have been in your presence many times since 2001. And I have the greatest respect for the efficacy and the love and the integrity and the training standards that the two of you have helped bring into the field of breathwork. And, at this point in our evolution, at this point in the human potential movement, traditional psychotherapy is starting to be more interested in breathwork, and breathworkers are starting to be more interested in psychodynamic principles. And so there's much more communication going on. And I'm so happy to be here with you today to talk about where we are with that, what we need to be looking at, and what the potential is. So, Tilke, let's start with you. Why do you think that breathing, particularly conscious breathing, how do you think that it could help the field of psychotherapy?
I deeply believe that any kind of therapy without breathwork will really only go skin deep. Because the moment that we really breathe, there is made a deeper connection with our body, and not just with the body, but with the mind and the body as a whole. And for me, that's such an important part of the whole therapeutic work. So that without the breath work and the conscious connected breath work, my psychotherapeutic work wouldn't be as successful and as, elegant.
The difference between when you had just done traditional psychotherapy and when you started using breathwork, what are the kinds of things that you started to see happening?
The moment that I began long years ago to do the breathwork, I was fascinated because it brought me and the people that I worked with without knowing anything about it. We only knew in those days, 40 years ago, or 42 years ago, that it worked, but we didn't know how it worked. And so by learning and exercising and doing it for myself and then for clients, there is the connection with the deeper part in ourselves, but it is a deeper part that we only can access through a felt sense. So we have to use a technique that brings us inside our bodies and opens up the connection with the body and the mind. And then the miracle can happen because we can become absolutely conscious and aware that we are much more than just a physical body, and we are just more than the mind, because the moment that the breathing connects inside the body and the mind is connected with it, our deeper human being opens up.
So,
and I think
Tilke,
for me, that's the most important thing.
So, Tilke, we've been asking each faculty member to share something about their own personal transformation with breath, to maybe tell a short story about a particular moment with breathing or a particular breathwork session that was very powerful for you in your life.
Okay. I immediately remember the moment that I went for a mammogram, and normally the assistant will come into the corridor where you're waiting, and then they will tell you, "Madam, you may go home." But this time the lady came in and she said, "Madam, the doctor wants to speak to you." And I felt this enormous wave of terror and panic rising inside my body. And it was about 15 years after I started the breathwork. So my body knew how to breathe. And it began to breathe connectedly. And so I walked into the doctor's office and I sat down, and he did something to look inside my breast. And then he told me, "You shouldn't breathe that much because you might hyperventilate." And I said to him, "Maybe you do your work, then I can do mine." And he asked me, "What do you mean?" And I said, "I don't have any time to tell you. But by breathing on in that moment in a conscious, connected way, my panic dissolved, and I got to the bottom of that fear in that particular moment. And it was the first time in my life that I did not move out of a feeling, a strong, strong feeling. And it was wonderful. And I knew that in that moment that I had mastered something inside myself, to be with me, with whatever I feel inside my body, and not run away from it. Just be with it. And then it will dissolve just by itself.
What a powerful story. I mean, that has, I imagine, had impact on the rest of your life since that moment.
Yeah, it did. It had a lot of impact. I began to feel really and really, really safe, which is amazing. To be safe in this world, to be safe with my strength, to be safe with my vulnerability, to be safe with the spiritual part inside of myself, and all the feelings that go with all those parts in me. And it's just wonderful. It's just wonderful.
Beautiful. Wilfried, let's bring you in here. I know that you've said that breath is the most suitable door to the inner experience of people. And so that's how you see a connection with psychotherapy. Can you say a little bit more about how the intensified and altered breathing can have a positive result in therapy and in producing different states of consciousness?
Yes, of course. When we deepen our breathing, that means we increase the volume of our breathing. And when we accelerate our breathing, that means we increase the frequency of our breathing. Our inner system changes in many ways, and basically in unpredictable ways. So there is a kind of chaos created inside of our body, in different aspects of our metabolism up to the brain, which also gets different impulses. And this can give rise to inner experiences which have been hidden and suppressed in our unconscious mind. So this is the impact of intensified breathing. And this is also a way to access memories which are needed for our healing, because suppressed memories keep coming up from the subconscious in dysfunctional ways in our lives, as we all know.
Wonderful. And how about for you? What was your discovery of breath? And maybe could you share one experience with breath that really impacted you?
Well, I could tell you about my first breathwork session, where I went into an intensified and strong breathing, which brought up a lot of tensions in my body, and which also led to a state of fainting and unconsciousness. And I just realized the moment when I came back, which was a moment of intense but very short terror. And then I had an inner experience of light and a voice telling me, oh, this moment is so precious and you should give this method on to everybody who is ready to do it. And so this calling didn't leave me since then.
And of course, after that, you've obviously learned how to contact that place of that inner voice or that sense of the light without having to go through that terror.
Well, of course, but it was important in the whole sequence, like to see how easy it is to overcome fear in that moment, and what things can happen when you go into that space where you just get information which you cannot access in other ways.
So I would love to hear from both of you about ways that you think that psychotherapy or psychotherapeutic methodology can actually enhance the breathwork experience, because I know we're going to be able to readily talk about how breathwork, and we already have, increases the efficacy of psychotherapeutic process internally. Have both of you witnessed ways that psychotherapeutic methodology could actually enhance breathwork? Who would like to start?
I think I can answer you. A couple of years after I began using breathwork and working deeply with myself and with others, my husband and I started to do a training. And shortly after, I met my colleague with whom I've been working for now 40 years, which is an amazing thing anyway already. Then I met a man named Hal Stone who was teaching voice dialogue and the psychology of selves. And the first lecture that I was listening to him, it was as if every experience that I had during breathwork sessions, suddenly I could understand what was happening in there. It was as if the voice dialogue technique and the principle of the psychology of the selves gave me an intellectual framework in which I could place my breathwork and the way I was teaching it. So for me, that technique that I can use in any moment in the middle of a session that I'm giving. And I can use it as a single thing, but while using the voice dialogue technique, using the breath as well, the whole experience deepens. And so for me, that's just a wonderful combination.
When you speak about that, Tilke, it resonates with my experience of bringing wisdom to breath work. I think eventually the breath would take us everywhere, but in terms of efficacy and in terms of accelerating the process, one of the things that we all need to do is to be able to experience simultaneously unity and diversity, or unity and different expressions. Like life is not just one expression, it's an infinite number of expressions. And so what you seem to be talking about to me is deepening where the breathwork can take you, because you're allowing yourself to have awareness of different aspects of self simultaneously, and not trying to make them all just be one in a sense, or all just be like a ball together, but really celebrating the different capacities. Is that right?
Yeah. There is something very beautiful. When Hellstone taught us, or me in that case, about what is consciousness really, and he always uses the picture of, you have on one side the awareness where you witness what is happening. You perceive and you're not judging it. You just perceive and you witness. So that's your awareness. And on the other side of that spectrum is the experience of what's happening in life, what's experienced in your own life and in your own body and in your own thinking. And then out of these two, awareness and experience, a more consciousness that is growing. That's not something static, but it is growing all the time into more and more and more being aware. And so the moment that I'm aware of a certain energy inside of myself, let's say I can feel shyness because I felt a little nervous because we were going to do this whole interview. And at the same time, I could feel that happening in my body, but I was also watching it. Breathing right in there, it kind of opened up for me the possibility of carrying as well the shyness and the possibility to do what I needed to do tonight.
Beautiful. Wilfried, what would you like to add to the conversation about how psychotherapeutic understanding, psychotherapeutic methodologies could enhance the field of breathwork?
I think this is a broad field. There are many things which I think are lacking or are not properly developed in the field of breathwork, which are part of the state of art in psychotherapy. So when implementing more of that in the breathwork practice and in the breathwork methodology and background of breathwork and of practitioners, then this could help a lot to give breathwork more recognition and acknowledgement in the public field, which is starting to come, but still needs a lot of attention and work to do. So one point is that traditional psychotherapy, going back to psychoanalysis, noticed the impact of the therapeutic relationship. So this is a field of projections going on the subconscious level, which then but can help to more understand the inner dynamic one brings from one's childhood, where most of the issues come from. Childhood, birth, and prenatal experiences. Like most what we know now from the discoveries around developmental traumatization, which are the cause of many disturbances people have. We know that traumas mostly stem from traumas in relationship. So the therapeutic relationship now can offer a healing field and a new experience, which gets transmitted to the subconscious of the client and creates a new sense of safety. So to bring this into awareness can help a lot to improve the quality of breathwork. From traditional psychotherapy, we have a lot of knowledge about patterns of feelings going on inside, what they have to do with the parental relationship. We know a lot about prenatal events now since the last 20 years. We know a lot more about the inner mechanisms of traumatization, which in my view have not been totally integrated into the understanding of breathwork. Because one problem we have with intensified breathing is, as I mentioned before, it creates chaos, and we don't know where it leads to. It can lead into fields of deep disturbance, and this needs a lot of safety from the practitioner who needs this inner sense of security so he can guide the client through these difficult states, and also then help him or her to understand what has happened. Because I think that understanding and placing the experience in a certain period of one's history helps to realign with one's own story. And realigning with one's story and background helps to complete inside. As long as we have some parts in our psyche which still are like white spots in our history, then we cannot feel complete. And the more we can go into these places, heal the emotions that are there, and understand what has happened, the more complete we become.
Yes,
okay,
the part
go on, yeah.
The part that I'd like to really underscore that really resonates deeply, I think, with a lot of people is that the breath worker actually having enough either natural skill or educated training that can help them explain to the client so that they not only experience the change, but they also understand it. I mean, this is the great thing that breathwork adds, is that you actually have an experience of change. You're not just talking about it. But it works in all ways. The understanding helps illuminate the experience, and the experience helps substantiate the understanding. So we know that there are some breath workers that know how to do what you're talking about completely naturally. It just comes to them because they have some kind of attunement or their own life experience. And what you're talking about is that it would be efficacious for breathwork training to include these kinds of understandings so that more breath workers would be able to do that.
Mm-hmm. There's also one aspect which has to do with body contact, which is sometimes used randomly, sometimes used intentionally. And this is also a very sensitive area where there has to be a lot of knowledge and also proper training to use this in a helpful way and not in a way which can re-traumatize people. So when you apply techniques from bodywork into breathwork sessions where the person that breathes comes into a regressive state, which means often to a very early childhood state, and then touch is applied in an inappropriate or in a unsensitive way. This can cause the repetition of an treatment the person has experienced in his childhood in the same way. So we have to be very careful in this area, as I think. And I think there also has to be a lot of learning of how a deep touch can go when you are in this very early phase of your inner experience.
Yes, and I think that not only in breath work, but around the world in different modalities, in body work, in yoga, in different therapies, there's more and more the idea of trauma-informed training, that all of these modalities, now that we have so much more understanding about what trauma actually is and the polyvagal response, all of these things, I think there's a great movement to have all fields have trauma-informed training. And so you're making a call specifically for breathwork to do that. I wonder if both of you could speak just briefly to some breathwork schools are not, they specifically shy away from, or they're not acknowledged anyway as a psychotherapeutic method. Now, there are benefits to that, and there are negatives or blind spots. Just can both of you say something about your particular sense of the breathwork field moving forward, whether more schools should remain as non-psychotherapeutic or include the idea of psychotherapeutic methodology?
First of all, I would like to say, Wilfried, you are speaking from the bottom of my own heart. Because what I have seen is that in many pure breathworkers, there is so little knowledge about working with the thought system of the people, working very systematically, working through their childhood and through what has been happening in their lives. And so, in my mind, breathwork in itself is so powerful, and therefore it has to be taught in a very thorough way so that people in the beginning get a lot of experience and learn on a feeling and experiencing level, but then they have to be taught as well how the mind works, how we are infected by our own memories, how our memories are making our thoughts go in a different direction. And the moment that we start to remember and retell ourselves about something in our childhood, we don't actually remember exactly how it was. And anytime that we tell more, we tell the story again and again and again, the trauma reinforces itself. And the person is not getting to solution, nor he's getting to integration. And so we have to unravel those thoughts and the system, how it works. How the mind works is crucial when we want to do breathwork in a very thorough way. That's absolutely what I think.
Yes, and really we are all, I think, people who have been in the breathwork field for a long time and really care about clients. This is the conclusion that we are all coming to, that we cannot separate cognitive, emotional, and somatic intelligence, that awareness and connection and experience need to come together. And for a breath worker having this incredibly powerful methodology, shall we say, or modality, to understand the nuances of all of those kinds of intelligences and all of those kinds of processes is not only important for integrity's sake, but it's also important, as you're saying, Tilke, because each person is so precious and we want to go as deep as possible to help them live the life that they can live. And so it's almost like breath workers should challenge themselves to rise to this level of understanding and training so they can give the very best to their clients.
I think so too. But what also happens in breathwork is that you can go in a very high state that doesn't seem to have to do anything with my normal daily life that I'm living today. And rising up to that kind of state, to that kind of inner state in myself, without being grounded in my body, it can be a really dangerous kind of experience. And so the grounding is so very important in there to accompany ourselves, but also to accompany our clients in a safe way.
Absolutely. You know, I'm going to want to ask both of you to just maybe take us on a little 3-minute guided breath meditation as we're coming to an end. So I just want to ask you in the interim, again, what do you think could be, what do you see the future of breathwork schools in terms of aligning themselves with psychotherapeutic methodology or not? What would be the benefits or blind spots of that?
I see the whole field of healing methodology, of even into the field of medicine or in the field of wellness, growing together more and more and opening up more and more. So the rigidity of schools, which used to be dominant in the last centuries or last decades, seem to loosen up. That's at least my impression. So we're starting to learn from each other. And learning is always a great gift. In some way, we cannot not learn. And when we learn consciously in the direction we want to go, that is to give holistic support and help to the people who come to us to trust us and to go into their own healing process, then we cannot be good enough. We cannot stop learning and integrating new insights or also old insights which have been in the tradition of psychotherapeutical schools around. So I think the future will be that breathwork adds a precious tool in a set of tools which are more or less equal in their value, but which can be brought into the processes of people who are on their inner way of healing. Together with other processes, together with other levels of work, which all are necessary. So working with the mind, working with the emotions, working with the body sensation, working with the nervous system, bringing alignment to all these systems then brings around holistic and integral healing.
What I deeply believe in is that we have to know ourselves so deeply. We have to know our strengths. We have to know our vulnerability. We have to know where we are angry. Very important, because when there is still hidden anger inside of us, that anger will come out somewhere in the work. And so before we can start to work with anybody else, we have to know ourselves, and we have to integrate our own life's story so deeply and so thoroughly, so that we are safe for ourselves and for everybody else. And that will make the world a better place in the end. When I am really safe for me, as well as for you, that can finally end war.
That's so beautifully said. You know, there's another faculty member on this summit is Dr. Stephen Porges, who is the actual founder of the polyvagal theory. And he ended his whole session with this, really talking about that, is just that if we can create a culture of safety, not only will it allow people to really develop their true self, but it also will be a vehicle for creating a peaceful world. So I hear you making a call for, as many other teachers are doing on this summit in the field of breathwork, that the breathworkers themselves, whether they're psychotherapists or certified through a breathwork school, should do a lot of deep inner work as an integral and intrinsic and necessary part of their training. I would love to ask both of you if you would just take 3 minutes and guide us through a breathing practice. Wilfried, would you please start?
Okay. So I will guide you through 3 minutes of coherent breathing. Coherent breathing means equaling the inhalation and the exhalation, and thus aligning the nervous system, strengthening the polyvagal, the parasympathetic nervous system, which is crucial for coming into the polyvagal state of the smart vagus. So take a slow in-breath and relax the exhale. Take the in-breath slowly and softly, and totally relax the exhalation. Breathing in, opening up. Breathing out, relaxing. Breathing in, let it come. Breathing out, let it go. Every breath a new experience. Deeper connecting with yourself. Breathing in slowly and relaxing the exhale. Letting new energy in and totally letting go everything which tenses your body. Breathing in, opening up. Breathing out, relaxing. Breathing in and letting the exhale go. Breathing in and nothing to do. Opening up and letting go. Just do it in your own rhythm. Equaling inhalation and exhalation.
And Tilke, could you please guide us from this practice into a practice with the breath that your heart is wanting to bring to us?
Thank you. I would like you to close your eyes and just imagine that your body is relaxing. And then out of nowhere, let your inhale just rise. And let it relax down inside your body. Your inhale goes slowly, very gently, into your nose. And behind your forehead, it changes and becomes energy. And you pull that energy high up, as if you're reaching into heaven. And when the exhale comes, the breath goes out, but the energy moves down inside of you. And you feel that you become grounded with every exhale. And you inhale again, reaching out. And exhale again, and reaching down. Feeling that you are living inside a body. And remembering that you are much bigger than just that physical body. Inhale. And exhale. And relax. And just let your body become a little taller, as if you're growing larger with every inhale you take. And then you relax inside the body, right down into your pelvic area, into the basic area of your own body, where you can sit inside yourself and live in safety. And you take another inhale. And you let that exhale go, gently, like water running through. And you're reaching out for who you are. And you're reaching down inside to be who you are. So that we all can remember that we are beautiful beings. That we can remember that we are living in this world, playing our part, inhaling and exhaling, and sharing our breath with ourselves and with the world. Remembering who we are, becoming who we are meant to be with every breath we take. There's nothing to do. There's nowhere to go. It is already inside, in all of us. It's all there to discover.
Thank you. It is all there inside of each of us to discover. And I want to thank you, Wilfried, and you, Tilke, for being devoted to supporting that wholeness in human beings. Thank you for joining us for this session, everyone.
Thank you for joining the Breathwork Summit, brought to you by the Shift Network. To learn more, visit breathworksummit.com. To learn more about our global programs to support you in waking up in all the areas of your life and taking inspired action, visit theshiftnetwork.com. Thank you again for joining us and for sharing this empowering path to embracing optimal well-being through conscious breathing.